So let's take a look at getting an API key, which is essential now to use Google Maps. So any widgets that rely on Google Maps that don't have an API key, which includes the Adobe Muse built-in widget, from the 11th of June will not work. Okay, so we need to have an API key. So let's go through the process. So first of all, I'm going to go to the Google Maps platform and I'm going to log in with a Google account. So you'll need a Google account to get started. Once I click Get Started, it gives me the option to choose what Maps platform and what APIs I'm going to use. Don't worry about any of this. Just choose one, just choose Maps and click Continue. Now we need to put a project name in. Now, just to be clear here with the APIs, if you're setting up an API, you may ask the question, can I just set up one key and use it across all my projects? You can, if you are just using the simple basic Maps API, simple Maps widget. However, if you are building projects using the custom maps and you're going to be fully using the Google Maps API, it would be better to set up a project for each client, for each website, and to set that up so that they can be billed by the client. So it would be better if the client ran their own Google account. The reason being is that once you reach the limit of what that API allows you to do, you will be charged, because you do have to set up billing even if you're going to use the free version of the maps. So it's essential that you decide what you're going to do with Google Maps up front, because obviously you don't want to run into this situation where you're having to pay for the maps that are on your client's site. And each time a map is loaded onto the page, that is classed as one of your loads that's available for free when you start looking at what you get per month. So it's critical that you really do understand that if you're using Google Maps and you have to use an API, that you decide on which widget you're going to use, how you're going to set up, so that you don't come across any nasty builds in the future. So I'm just going to create a project and call it API Demo and click Next. Once I've done that, it's going to take me through to the billing. Now, even if you're going to use the free services, you still need to create a billing account. So I'm just going to go ahead and create my billing account. So I'm just going to pause this while I put my billing details in. Okay, so now I've set up my billing account. I can now enable my Google Maps platform. And this is all set up now, and it's just going through the process. So I was basically in the billing. I just needed to put my address and my credit card details and so on, just in case there are charges in the future. That's why I was saying be very clear on how you want to set up the Google APIs. So now I've got my API key here, so I'll just copy that and hit done. And now we're ready to go and add the API key to my my site. Now, one thing that we need to make sure we do as well is make sure that the project is locked down to a specific site, because we don't want to have other people accessing and using our API and using up our quotas every month. So let's go ahead and do that. So in order to set up the API to just work on a specific site rather than it being free and open to use by anybody that has the API key, what we're going to do is go to our APIs here, and we will go to our Maps embed API, and let's go to our credentials here, and we can see our API key here. So I'm going to click on the little edit button, give the API a name, so I'm going to call this API Demo, and I want to restrict this particular API to a specific IP address, web address, or domain. So at the moment you can see it's set to none, And that would mean that anybody that had this API key could use it, and it would use my account. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to click on this HTTP for websites, and then I can put the specific website I want it to use. So you could set it up for your domains or your client's domains, or I could set it up for a specific server and then iOS apps if you were using those as well. So that would then restrict that site to just restrict that API to just the sites that you specify. And I can't state enough how important it is for you to ensure that your API keys are not able to be used across services that are not under your control. So you wouldn't want to just have an open API. Now for the time being, I'm just going to set it to none because I want to use this API key in the demo. And if you're wondering if you can write this down and use it in your site, once I've stopped recording this video, I will be removing this API key. Not that I don't trust anyone, but I don't want to build for usage of other people's widgets. Okay, so I'm going to click save on this now. And I've got my API. So that would be my API all set up and ready to go. And the great thing is then with this all set up, I can see on the dashboard, I can see how my traffic is performing and so on. So, and I can also see my billing and all sorts of things like that. If you're using the basic embed version though, you'll see that we don't have an issue with it using our quotas. Okay, so that is setting up an API key. And if it's something you haven't done before, you may want to watch this video again, but that's setting up an API key for Google Maps and how to lock it down and restrict it to just the domains you specify so that nobody else can use your API keys. So let's move on to the next video.